Every Woman is Vietnam. The Art of Le Faux. Produced by the Le Faux Art Gallery. The elegant woman at the center of Le Faux's La Famille has her hands full. A young mother, she has put down her thread and sewing basket to receive a kiss from one young son, while another tugs at a swath of silk. Her mandarin husband reaches around the infant's shoulder, pulled back from the intimacy while still craving its warmth. Serene and beautiful, she is the emotional center of the family, desired by all. La Famille is a dreamy picture, part memory and part fantasy, that embodies the most profound and recurrent themes of Le Faux's art. His art is filled with longing for the mother he lost at a young age and for the country he left behind as a young man drawn towards Europe. Through art, Le Faux could reclaim and mythologize his mother and mother country, recasting her with the eternal grace and solemnity of a female saint. The countless serene and perfect women he would paint while living in France as a mature artist were his attempts to reach back in time and recast his bittersweet memories of Vietnam. As the 20th century opened, the Indo-Chinese city of Hanoi was a booming showcase of French colonialist ambition and expansionism. The site of a massive international exposition that opened in the fall of 1902, Hanoi was on its way towards becoming a Southeast Asian Paris. In 1902 alone, additions to the city included the massive neoclassical Palace of Exhibitions, part of a 41-acre fair complex, a new railway station, a medical college, and a university. By 1906, a cantilevered metal bridge named after Paul Doumet, the French Governor-General, spanned the Red River, while not far away, a yellow Italian Renaissance-style presidential palace loomed behind wrought iron gates. On Hanoi's wide boulevards, one might see horse-drawn carriages and human-carried palanquins, passing cassocked French missionaries, glaring at silk-clad courtesans. It was a city where modern European religion and culture was being imposed on an ambivalent population that both admired and resented its European overlords. European-style modernity, imposed by the French as an antidote to what they viewed as Indo-Chinese backwardness, was the order of the day. Imposing this new culture required considerable force, often accompanied by government-sanctioned brutality. Ho Chi Minh, the revolutionary politician who became North Vietnam's first prime minister in 1945, once observed that while the French he met in France were good, the French colonials in Indochina were cruel and inhumane. Le Faux was born on August 2, 1907, in a communal village that is now part of an urban district of Hanoi. His father was Le Hon, a powerful mandarin and briefly a provincial viceroy, who both served Vietnam's French administrators and conspired against them. Le Faux's mother, Nguyen Thi Thien, was one of Le Hon's 8 spouses and concubines, and the mother of 5 of his children. Le Faux was just 3 years old when she died giving birth to his younger brother, Le Tuan, in 1909. After his mother's death, Le Faux was tended by a nurse and rarely saw his father. As an adult, Le Faux mainly recalled his father smoking an opium pipe, which his children had prepared for him in their garden pavilion. In 1915, 7-year-old Le Faux attended his father's spectacular Buddhist funeral and was taken in to be raised by the wife of one of his older half-brothers. Feeling burdened by her orphaned nephew, his new guardian tended to blame him when squabbles broke out. When something went wrong, it was always Le Faux who had done it, his wife Paulette later told an interviewer. The artist's son, Alain Le Kim, recalls something milder. "My father was raised with the chickens and domestic animals," as he used to say. He told us he had a very tough childhood, but no worse than the other children of the family. Interested in art from an early age, Le Faux, a clean, quiet young man who wore glasses, taught himself to draw. He also studied at a French-sponsored lycée and retouched photos for a local photo shop, opening up a lifelong interest in photography. In 1923, at the age of 16, Lefau's studies turned toward art when he enrolled at the École Professionnelle de Hanoi, a school that had been established in 1902 to teach fine crafts, including cabinet making, metalwork, ceramics, and embroidery. Vietnamese studio masters, overseen by French professors, taught the various specialties. The school's director, Gustav Hierholz, was a former student of Auguste Rodin, an animal specialist known for his realistic tabletop bronzes of bulls and elephants. It was at the École that Lefau became increasingly interested in European-style painting and drawing. Lefau's timing as a talented Indo-Chinese art student increasingly interested in Western art was ideal. On October 27, 1924, an officially sanctioned art academy, the École Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts, opened in Hanoi. Founded by the Indo-Chinese artist Nguyen Nam Son and overseen by a French director, Victor Tardieu, it was an attempt to teach and fuse Western methods and Indo-Chinese subjects to create a new, authentic art intended to supersede the region's embedded Indo-Chinese styles and methods. In other words, the culture of modern Vietnam would be a hybrid culture, twice infused by outside influences, first Chinese, then French. In a written statement, Tardieu offered this sympathetic yet still patronizing view of his Vietnamese pupils. Without artistic education, without direction, having lost faith in their ancient masters, he lamented, they believe they are doing well by despising their ancestral traditions, either by jettisoning them deliberately, by doing disastrous pastiches, or by accommodating local traditions awkwardly with Western examples. Ought we not to stop these pitiable, misguided ways of an excellently gifted race for whom we are in a certain way responsible? Tardieu, a graduate of the Paris École des Beaux-Arts, was a muralist and genre painter whose style was grounded in academic training, diluted by experiments with modernist color and painterly brushwork. His solid but unchallenging work was often recognized by academic juries who were uncomfortable with post-impressionism. After winning the Prix National in 1902, Tardieu used his prize money to travel, painting ships in Liverpool and Genoa, and decorating banquet rooms and town halls outside Paris. He later did military service as a camouflage expert during World War I. In 1921, Tardieu won the Prix de Indochine, which came with a one-year travel grant and free transportation throughout the French colony of Indochina. He was enchanted by Vietnam, and after painting a large mural in the amphitheater of Hanoi's law school, he decided to stay. In France, Tardieu would have returned to a minor reputation, but in Vietnam, he became a revered master and a historically important art educator. 18-year-old Lefau was encouraged by Nguyen Nam Son to take the entrance exam for the new école and became one of the first 10 members selected for its class. At the new école, Lefau and his classmates followed a rigorous curriculum modeled on that of the Beaux-Arts Academy in Paris. It included courses in anatomy, life drawing, composition, and art history. An emphasis on accuracy and copying was reinforced by the practice of drawing plaster casts kept in the drawing classrooms. Like his peers, who were also from leading Indo-Chinese families steeped in Confucian values, Lefau felt the culture shock created by drawing from nude models, men who were often prisoners on short-term release, and exploring the varied, subtle, and illusionistic imagery of Western art. In late 1926, the school added a second professor, Joseph Ingumberti, and expanded its course of studies to 5 years. Lefau and his fellow students were soon introduced to Western-style oil painting techniques, while also encouraged to explore the traditional Vietnamese techniques and subjects. Students also took field trips to sketch or paint outdoors, a previously unheard of practice for Vietnamese artists. They attended class in white suits, serious young men, with a few women added later, who felt lifted up by their contact with European culture. Le Faux in particular bonded with Tardieu, who became his mentor, replacing the distant, barely remembered father of his childhood. Fascinated by everything, the École building, its contents, and its library of art history books, he would later remember his years in the school as a time of enchantment. The roots of Le Faux's mature art can be detected in Tardieu's 1925 chalk and pastel, Vietnamese Mother and Child, executed in the same year that the École des Beaux-Arts opened its doors. A double-sided painting that Le Faux showed in a 1928 student exhibition demonstrates what he had absorbed from the master's firm drawing and warm-toned palette. During his final 2 years before graduation, Le Faux experimented with new media while creating ambitious and varied works. 2 large pieces, The Family Home and The Happy Age, brought scenes from the artist's childhood toward the tradition of French historical and allegorical painting, and were painted with masterful confidence. Working with Joseph Ingimberti, Le Faux had experimented with lacquer painting, producing a screen and a decorated box that he gave to Victor Tardieu as a gift. During the course of making these items, Le Faux found himself allergic to lacquer and returned to it only once more, to create a screen offered as a wedding gift in 1935. In another medium unique to the EBAI, painting with ink and gouache on silk, Le Faux made a breakthrough that would lead to some of his greatest and most original paintings. After the co-founder of the school, Nguyen Nam Son, returned from a 1928 trip to China, he began to paint on silk, developing a method that involved washing the silk and then applying water-based colors in multiple layers. Le Faux practiced this method and found that the effects he could achieve, dreamy softness accentuated by delicate outlines, were well suited to his abilities. The Blue Bowl, painted in the same year that Le Faux graduated from the École, represents a breakthrough for the artist, both in terms of subject matter and his use of colors on silk. The subject of the painting is believed to have been a young woman that Le Faux had once proposed to in Hanoi. After her father, who found Le Faux unsuitable, forbid the marriage, his former fiancée responded by dressing in white, Vietnam's color of mourning, to indicate her grief. The constraining yet elegant environment that surrounds her frames the young woman's solemn beauty. His lover's almond eyes, arched eyebrows, delicate lips, and pale oval face would reoccur in Le Faux's future portraits of women, as would her slender, elongated figure. Like so many of Le Faux's women, she evokes both love and loss.